Welcome to Conversations with Cubit. This is a special edition of Conversations with Cubit. Thank you for joining us tonight. If you are joining us regularly, you know we usually come once a week. But this week and next week is a little bit different because of the primary election coming up on June 28th. Remember that date. That's right. In 2 short weeks, we will be going to the polls, and we want to do our best to help make you a more informed voter. Therefore, this week we have the candidates running for State Senate District 48. And next week we'll have 2 Oklahoma County DA candidates. It's an exciting time for us. So if you are looking for inspiration, if you're looking for information, or just plain old hope, you've landed in the right place. I'm very excited about tonight's conversation and tonight's guests. Now, if you're new to these weekly conversations, I got to welcome you to the family. We're excited that you found your way here. Now, be sure to check out some of our past conversations on my YouTube channel. You don't have to miss any of them. Just look up Conversations with Cubit on YouTube, and once you find that page, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You know, those things help us keep this conversation going. After that, check out any of the past conversations. Just dive right in. They're all really good and informative conversations. But right now, I need you to do me a favor and share tonight's conversation. That's right. Don't keep this particular conversation to yourself. Tonight we are talking to the state senator for District 48, Mr. George Young, who is running for re-election. You absolutely must share this conversation with your community. Hit the share button and help the community become just a little bit more informed about the election coming up on June 28th. Special thanks goes to my friends at Green Pasture Studios, where we are tonight. They host these weekly conversations, has been doing that for about a year now. My friends Richard and Amy James are running things out here, and this is a full-fledged movie production studio. It's great to see all the cool things they're doing out here. Everything from full-fledged movie productions to commercials, and they even have a film training academy. Look them up. You will be glad you did. Now, as you know, I only have 3 simple goals for these weekly conversations. 1 is add value to people and to my community. 2, I want to inspire you to believe in what people and communities can become when we're willing to work together. And 3 is very simple. Love people, period. No strings attached. All this means is that I want you to be inspired. I want you to get useful information and resources. And I want to celebrate individuals, groups, and organizations who are making a positive impact on our community. Every conversation will be about information, inspiration, and hope. So let's get started. It is a great honor for me to introduce you to our guest tonight, Reverend Dr. George E. Young, Sr. Senator Young was born in Memphis, Tennessee. He retired from 30 years of pastoral service in 2013, and Dr. Young was elected to the Oklahoma State House of Representatives in 2014. And while serving, he was elected as the Democratic Caucus Vice Chair and serves as the Oklahoma Legislative Black Caucus Chair. In 2018, he was elected to the State Senate for District 48. His resume and his list of accomplishments are just way too long to share right now, but I can tell you this about him. He is a certified mediation specialist in family and divorce issues. He received his undergraduate degree from Lambeth University in Jackson, Tennessee. He continues his education later in receiving a Master's of Arts in Ministry from Oklahoma Christian University, graduating magna cum laude. A Master's of Divinity degree from Phillips Theological Seminary in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he graduated cum laude there. He also has a Master's of Business Administration from Oklahoma Christian University, which he got in December of 2006, and completed his Doctorate of Ministry from Phillips Theological Seminary in 2010. I personally met this fine man in 2007 when he was the pastor of Holy Temple Baptist Church. And I can tell you we have worked closely together on several projects in the northeast quadrant of Oklahoma City. Dr. Young and his late wife, Dr. Thelma Chambers Young, have 2 children and 3 wonderful grandsons. Please help me welcome Senator, Dr., Pastor, Mentor, George E. Young, Sr. to Conversations with Cubit. Finally got you tied down here.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. Now, this is I'm trying not to be biased, but I think it's fair to say that nobody knows Waylon Cubit if you don't mentor me.
No, I don't know. I can't. You are being biased.
No,
with
no,
that,
no,
yeah.
I'm not. It's
'Cause
okay.
Waylon Cupid has always been Waylon Cupid and has always been active in the community. Has always been different when it comes to law
I've been a little bit different.
That's
I've been a little bit
right, that's
different,
right,
and
that's
I've been a
right.
little bit out there. But Chief City, when we started this project, it was an idea.
Yeah.
It was just an idea.
Yeah.
He assigned me to the project,
Right.
and one of the first people he said go see was George Young.
Right.
And I don't even know if I knew you at all. Then I've been to your church. I had been to your church, but I don't know if I ever honed in on you. So it was supposed to be a 30-minute meeting.
Right.
I remember it like yesterday. How long did we talk?
I can't remember. We was in the church too. We were in
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Oh man, it was a couple of hours.
A couple of hours.
Yeah.
We talked, and I knew then that I was not going to make a move without checking with you first, especially when it comes to community engagement and that kind of thing. And so, and not only that, is I bugged you a lot about running around the town with me and
We did run together. That's
and
right.
traveled. We've done all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So I am not going to be biased today. You are a candidate, sir.
I'm a candidate.
Yeah, and I'm going to keep it down the middle.
Keep it down the middle. That's
But I love you.
I love you.
Okay, all right. So the way I usually start these is I kind of know, be able to judge a candidate by just asking them a few simple questions.
Sure.
I'm going to ask you the serious questions later.
Okay.
But that ain't really how I figure out who a guy is by asking these.
I got you.
Okay, you ready for these?
Right.
They're rapid fire. There's
I'm from
no.
Memphis now. You need to remember that though.
You are
can't
from-
judge. That's right. You can't judge some of those answers. But right now, you got to look at the history.
The history. All right. I remember you say. Now, you say you used to dribble a basketball.
You know, start with me now.
Did you say
you
you
find a
used to?
goal right now? I still got a little ball in me.
I watched you. I watched you walk in, and the first thing I thought was like, I
yeah.
think I can take that guy.
That's just what I was saying about you. That's right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm just gonna give you this or that, and you just answer this or that.
Okay.
Okay. All right. What's worse for you, doing the dishes or doing the laundry?
Laundry.
Okay, that's good. Me and you on the same page. See, that's how you earn my vote. You just pick like I pick.
I see.
Okay, that's all it is. All right. Yeah, all right. Is it sneakers or tennis shoes?
Tennis shoes.
Tennis shoes, which I've never seen on your feet.
I've got some Converse All Stars, Chuck Taylors, man, out there in the car. If you
This is
talk too
this
much,
is
I'll go put
this
them
is
on.
why I always question it. I've never seen tennis shoes on your feet. That's why I was questioning this
Tennis
basketball
shoes.
story that you tell. Okay, all right. Would you rather have a phone call or a text message?
Text message.
Ooh, you talk. Oh, wow. Okay, I would think that a preacher would want to talk.
No, not this one.
Not this one. Okay. You had your choice: good barbecue or good seafood.
Barbecue.
Okay, Memphis.
Yeah.
It just lined us.
Rendezvous, downtown, in the alley, yeah.
yeah. Are you going to go with rap or maybe rock and roll?
I'd have to go with rock and roll. I'm not going to rap.
Oh, really?
Yeah, right.
Okay. I think the people of District 48 might have something to say about that.
So they can.
But it's your choice of music, right? Okay. All right.
My age.
This is the one that we can really pop. Do you call it pop or soda?
Soda, never called it pop. Yeah.
That's the way it is in Memphis, huh?
Yeah.
But you never got to the. How long you been in Oklahoma?
Oh man, 35, 40 years.
40 years, and you still ain't caught on that we call it pop.
Yeah, I call it pop. Yeah.
Slow learner. Okay. All right. Here we go. Truck
trying to
or car?
convert you.
Truck or car? You're a truck person or a car person?
Car.
Car, all the way. Yep. Handshake or hug?
Oh, hug. Yeah.
Hug. Okay. All right. If you had your choice, are you watching a scary movie or a comedy?
Comedy.
Comedy. Birthday party or wedding?
Birthday.
Birthday. That's
Yeah.
right. You only. Now this is the
I
one
have
that
to do the weddings. So
Yeah, that's right.
Birthday party.
Is there any kind of service for divorces or something? Nothing. There's okay. All right. You got to pick one of these.
Okay.
There's only 2 jobs left. You got to pick one: policeman or fireman.
Police.
Yes. I think, is he the first one to get that right?
Maybe, yeah.
I think so.
No, we
Okay.
had one last time.
Yeah. Home Alone. I think I know the answer to this. Are you singing or are you dancing?
Dancing.
I kind of figured that. Now you've been here 35, 40 years. There's this stretch of road. Some of us call it Broadway Extension and some of us call it I-235. What do you call it?
Broadway Extension.
Very good. Very good. You got to pick one, Will Smith or Chris Rock?
Chris Rock.
Anything about the recent news helps you make that decision, or was it always Chris Rock?
Always Chris Rock.
Okay, always Chris Rock. All right. Bedtime, the TV on or the TV off?
Off.
I can't go to bed with it off. I can't go to sleep. All right. Beer or wine?
Beer.
What kind?
Probably import. I like Mexican beer, cerveza.
Modelo?
Modelo.
That's the one.
Okay.
Oh man. Okay. We're cooking with hot grease. I think they would
Don't
say
tell
that.
anybody at church, though.
Of course not. Of course not. That's between us.
That's between
us.
us.
All right. All right. So let's get down to business. I want to know. I've known you since 2007. You have been burning the candle on both ends of service to the community, hard and heavy, since then. You did your thing in the House of Representatives. You're now in the Senate. You're doing that thing. It's got to be tough. Why you can sit down and relax. You can sit down and relax now. Why are you running again?
I owe it. I owe it to society. I owe it to my community. I owe it to people. My life has been so rewarding. My life has been so full. Had a wonderful mother and father who taught me, who tried to share with me, who protected me, who gave me. Listen, I turned 68 this year, and think about when I was growing up in the 60s and early 70s. I had a mother and a father who was dealing with all of the things that were going on in the South in Memphis, and they did a good job in raising me, gave me the opportunity. My father went to the 8th grade. My mother tried to finish her GED and did not finish it. 9 of us, and if I start telling you the accomplishments that all 9 of those, we go to family reunions, I'm not the star of the show. And so I had a great mother and father who taught me that really, you need to give something back to life. You're not really living life until you have given back. You owe something to this life that God has granted you. And that's why I can't sit down. I'd love to sit down. I'd love to stop. I'd love to give in. I tried it for a little while during COVID and thought that would work out, but it didn't.
Right.
Because God said, no,
right.
You can try it, but it's not going to work. I'm not going to let you do it. And so, I feel as if I do owe something. I've been blessed. I have had a wonderful life, and I'm trying my best to return that back to people.
Yeah. So it's a lot going on, and we'll get into these questions. But right now, having done this for a number of years, what is your top priorities? What's the top priorities in this coming up in this next cycle?
They've probably been the same ever since I've been in office, and I can give you those.
Okay.
I've had the pillars of my campaign. One, I can start off with education, because I think everything starts with education. If the educational process is not working, then you're not going to have a community, you're not going to have a city, a state, you're not going to have a nation that is productive. Education is the foundation. We've got to be able to teach and to train our young people. We've got to give them. That's why I think one of the good things that the Constitution brings about is that public education is free, because even those folk then who did make some mistakes in forming this country, but one of them was not making education free and accessible to everyone, because they knew that would be foundational. Education, economical. You got to have the ability for people to make a decent living. You got to provide that for them. You got to be able to show them and to help them to be able to take for themselves, not give it to them, but they've got to be able to earn it. If you can earn it, if you can fix a way to start to doing the things that will be helpful to you to make a life that is constructive, that is good. Health is part of the whole process. If people don't have good health, if they don't have, and that's part of the problem we have now, is the disparities that exist. But it all goes back to education. We've got to teach folk how to have good health. Health is important. I don't care how wonderful life is. If you are not healthy, if you're not feeling good, it is no good. And not only that, you got health, education. Then the other thing that's very important to me is criminal justice. Criminal justice. And I quit saying criminal justice. I said criminal legal reform, because I see the problems that exist. You just told you how old I was, told you where I came from. Listen, I can remember when the system was not even as fair as it is now. And so that is part of what my life is about, trying to make sure that people have an opportunity to live life within the confines of this environment that we call Oklahoma City, that they don't have to worry about an unjust system causing them additional problems that they already face in just trying to build a good and decent life. I've kind of built my whole life's political platform on that, but you got to remember, I've been a pastor longer than I've been anything else, and without that spiritual, without that individual decision-making process, being able to look at things and to say what is best not only for those around me, but what's best for me. And those things have to come together, because what's best for me sometimes is not what's best for the whole. And so you've got to sometimes meld that together. And that's part of it. So I think my spiritual faith upbringing has been very significant and important to me. But again, all of that comes out of, I had a wonderful mother and father. It was 9 children. I was the 8th of 9. And we argue now about who was mama's favorite. And I know I am, because I win every time. I win every time. I don't care what they say. So yeah, that gives you an idea.
I always wondered this about you, and I don't know if I've ever asked it, and because I've interviewed you before for podcasts and other things, and we've talked and we've been on panels together over the years. What was the deciding factor from going from pastoral care? Why did you see the need to jump into politics from there to there?
Sure.
Because it's a handful. I got a lot of pastor friends, and riding around with them, they are working really, really hard serving people.
Right.
What was the difference maker? What did you say? I got to do this. I got to stop that and do this. What was it? What did you see? What did you feel?
I had to go back to Memphis. Early 70s when I was graduated, had graduated from high school, was almost ready to graduate from college. I graduated from college in 3 years. I did an early, rapid kind of thing. And about the second or third year, when I was getting ready to graduate, there was a gentleman by the name of Harold Ford who ran for Congress in Memphis. It was the 5th district near Shelby County, which is in the southwestern part of Tennessee, that corner where Memphis is next to Mississippi and Arkansas. He ran for office, African-American guy, family owned a funeral home. It was the first African-American who had a possibility of winning a congressional seat from the state of Tennessee since Reconstruction. It was an exciting time. I worked part on his campaign. I was a part of what was going on. I saw what was happening. He won. His winning and his serving in those years gave me something that I hadn't had before. There is another way to impact the lives of people, and it is through the political process. Now, that's where I got bit by the bug, was then. But then I also had already, when I was 12 or 13 years old, God had called me to ministry, and I fought that and ran from that all that time until I couldn't anymore. And so I was working in accounting, got transferred from Memphis to Los Angeles, Carson, California, from Carson, California to Oklahoma City, and the Lord wouldn't let me run anymore. I had to acknowledge that call. I acknowledged that call and went into pastoring, pastored down in Boley, Oklahoma for 10, 15 years. And while I was there, I read a book by a man named Proctor, Dr. Proctor, who served in the Shriver administration when Kennedy was president. Shriver was over the work on poverty programs, the people who would go overseas, Peace Corps and all those things. Okay. Reverend Proctor woke up one morning. He was in the bathroom. He was shaving. And he looked in the mirror and he said, "I'm in meetings now that talk about collateral damage, and I have to agree or disagree about how much collateral damage." They were talking about people's lives, and he said, he was a minister, he was a pastor. He said it hit him right then. I'm on the wrong end of this spectrum. I have been placed by God at an end to say that all collateral damage is wrong. All life is precious. And that's when he said I had to step away from the political process and say to myself, I'm going to listen to God. I read that. When I read that line, I still got the book at home. You can come to my house and I can show you. Do it. I decided then, I told and promised God I would never run for office as long as I was full-time in the pulpit. And so 2013, when I retired after 30 years of ministry, 2014, my state senator and my state representative decided to do something else. I got calls. I've been active in the party, and I got a call and I ran for state representative.
And here I am. Why we're here.
That's right.
I'm glad I asked that question. I'm glad I asked that question. All right, let's move on to the controversies of the day.
Sure.
And I don't know if they're just controversy, but they just make a lot of noise on the news and stuff. What's your views on some of the current laws being passed in this session? I mean, we've had conversations here about CRT and some of the stuff that they're passing or that is addressing that. Mm-hmm. Abortion, women's rights, that type of thing. Now we're talking about gun control. Mm-hmm. Where are you on all of this, and where are you sticking your heels in and digging in, and how are you handling these fights?
Life is important and significant, and that's where I'm sticking in my fight. All of those issues are significant and they are important. This is everything that I do comes through the filter of my faith journey. And I'm honest about that. It comes through the filter of my faith journey, because I'm looking at not only, again, what's best for me, but God has placed me in a position. I believe God has placed me in a position. That's how I got where I am. I don't think it was me. And so I've got to look at it from that standpoint. I've got to look at what's best, what's going to be able to generate the types of environments that will be helpful to young people, to everyone else. And so part of what has occurred for me, is that this nation has found themselves in a position where they're trying to fight their history. They're trying to struggle with their history. What a great nation this is. There is no greater nation than the United States of America. But the way that we got to this point is troubling in many aspects, and we need to admit that. And when we can admit that without getting in an uproar about the things that happened, slavery was wrong. I don't care what it did. There's no way you can put a good face on slavery. And so when you cannot admit that that was wrong, I don't care how necessary it was for us to get to where we are. I don't think it was necessary, but it was the route that was taken. It was wrong. And until we can come to that discussion, that we can openly talk about that and other issues other than slavery, other issues, then, we're never going to be able to move to where we are. And because of that, you began to see the divisions that are erupting all over again. We are more divided now than when I was a child in the 60s and 70s, when Dr. King was alive, who was assassinated in Memphis while I was there. I was in the 8th grade. And so I was there. I was there at the riots. I saw what happened. We are more divided now than we were then. And it has become more of a political fight than it has a fight that has the public interest at heart and at stake. And so I wish we could stop for a moment and start thinking, what's best for us, what's best for this country. And part of that has to do with admitting some things that are very difficult, like you and me in life. There's some things that we've done in life that we really don't want to talk about, but for us to move on, for you to have become who you are right now, for you to have reached the heights right now that you've reached, your service with the Oklahoma City Police Department. I was there when they pinned the lieutenant's thing on you. I was there, and it was because you had lived, but you had to come to some conclusions in life. You had to come to confront yourself in life to be able to be where you are right now. That's like any entity, any organism. You've got to realize the things that occurred in your life that brought you to this point. Some of those things, you still have to say, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Right.
And I don't see us there
now,
yet.
Here you said something that I think immediately that I can see people in the comments already saying everybody, Democrat and Republican, would agree slavery was wrong. Right. You won't find anybody up there that will say that it was okay, that it was necessary. It is how we got here. You say that, but for those people that say, yeah, it was wrong, but I don't want to teach it.
Right.
How do you how do you help them understand that these laws that they're fine? The way I saw the laws they were passing or addressing, that they were creating a solution to a problem we don't even have, right? How do you talk to people across the aisle to say nobody's teaching CRT,
right?
And what you're trying to put in place is you're just not trying to teach the truth, or is that how you talk to them? Tim?
Yeah, let me just get rid of CRT right now, because when they brought CRT, I thought that was cathode ray tube. So that's how far back I go. So
critical race theory.
Right? Yeah, I thought it was cathode ray. I thought it was a TV thing that goes to TV that makes the TV work. So no, I make fun of that. But your question is right. But it goes back to what I said. If I can't tell you where I'm from, if I can't tell you about the life that I was brought up in Memphis, Tennessee in 1960, 61, 62, 63, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, all the way through when I went to the 8th grade, kindergarten, 8th grade, all black school, and then from 9, 10, 11, and 12 to an integrated school, the difference, the changes, what I had to go through, what I had to adjust to, what I had to endure myself to, what I had to fight, what I had to struggle with to get through that made me who I am now. If I want to disregard that, if I want to say, I can't talk about that. Then you'll never know me. And if I try to hide what I've gone through, if I try to hide the hurt, the pain, the sorrow that I've gone through, you're not going to get to know me, and I'm not going to be the best person that I can be. It's like that with any entity. And the nation is an organism. People want to say that I say this right now, that the Civil War, Revolutionary War, Vietnam War, World War I, II were not the most tumultuous times of our life. The most tumultuous times was the civil rights movement that continues today. This is why I say that. All those other wars were fighting for some outside external forces that came against us. We had to go against it. Even with the Civil War, it was an outside eternal force that the North had, that the South had, that they were fighting to try to come to a conclusion. The civil rights movement is a struggle for the soul of this nation. And we are still in that struggle. We are still trying to discover who we are, who we want to become. That's what drives me, is that when we can look at it from the standpoint that we're not trying to push back communism. We're not trying to push back socialism. What we're trying to do is to find out who we want to be right now and in the future, and how we're going to respond to that.
Yeah, I was on the driving range the other day, and this 80, I think he told me he was 86 years old, white guy, and we stumbled on the subject of politics while we're hitting balls and talking and telling me what he used to do and before he retired, and he said, you know, son, when we talk about those issues, all of that CRT mess, that's what he called it, that CRT mess. He said, when we talk about and you hear all that kind of stuff, he said, in my industry, we could never fix a problem until we admit we had a problem. If everybody acted as if something on the assembly line was not fixed back there, we kept putting out bad products until somebody admitted that the product was bad. Nobody even started to go back down the line to fix it. And he said, this is very simple. We know we have a bad product. And so we know that there's something about the product. It's still functioning. It's still doing that thing. We can still sell it. It's still good. It's all kinds. But we all know
We got a bad product.
that it can be better.
That's right.
We have to admit we have the problem. That's what he's told. This is an 86-year-old man on the golf course is saying that, and that's what you're.
That's exactly right. Yeah, you've got to. Again, though, listen. What a wonderful nation this is. The opportunities are here. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to go be French. I don't want to go be Italian. I don't want to go be German.
He said the product is good.
The product is good.
It'll still sell. But it could be better, and we all know it.
Let me jump to this then, because I think one other thing is the criminal legal system. That system is a solid system. Some folks disagree with me. I like our system. I think it is. They develop a really good system until the people start not looking at the letter and the spirit of the law and start looking at who the letter or the spirit of the law impacts.
Okay.
When that happens, that's when that system goes off base. But the basic system
It's not the
itself,
what, it's the who.
it's the who.
Okay.
And so so I like our system. I like judges, because judges have the ability to have some leeway to do some things when they look at the law, that the letter of the law says one thing, as the Old Testament is, and the spirit of the law, which is the New Testament, gives forgiveness. Well, you don't forgive everything. There are consequences, Brother Cubitt, to things that we do. I don't care how much I forgive you for slapping me upside the head. You're going to have to live with that mistake. I can't take that consequence away from you, but I can say to you, I forgive you. There are consequences. And so that's the only thing I'm saying is that, listen, I think we've got, as you said, you want to call it a product? We have a great product, but we've got to look at how we got here and that some of the ways, some of the things that occurred, Native Americans, we will never be able to repay the Native Americans for what we did to them. You'll never be able to repay those slaves that were brought over here and made to work sugarcane, cotton, tobacco. There is no way to redo that except if we can admit it. We can't even do 1921 up in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We can't even come together and say, hey, you know what? That was strictly wrong. It is a good example of where our nation was, what our nation was going through, and we ought to be able to say we were wrong. And as a nation, we had those tendencies that existed, just as we see some of those tendencies coming out right now.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to ask you about gun control because that's the big topic of the day. But while we're here, the it feels really hopeless to me a lot of times listening to and watching the news when it comes to legislation.
Yeah.
And here's why. I'm never without hope, not me. Right. But sometimes I'm just pounding my fist because it's so overwhelming. It's a super majority, and nobody seems to be speaking their mind. They start speaking the party. Nobody is voting their mind. They're voting party. Right. And therefore, all the things you talk about, I can agree all I want to, or it's going to be the other party. How do we make any? And you said yourself, the same things that you started campaigning on are the same things that you're still doing now. How do we deal with this supermajority? How do we do it? How do we break through? How do we get anything that some of the other people in this state want to see happen?
First off, you remember who you are. I have to remember every day I go into that Senate chamber who I am. I got to remember the things that are the values that my mother and father gave me. I have to remember the things that are significant and important to me. I have to remember what I want to accomplish in life. Is it frustrating? Yes, it's very frustrating. But I get up every day with that same hope that you say you never give up. I get up every day, rebuild that hope, go in there, and I'm going to do what I know is right and best to do. Sometimes I get off base and I have to say I'm sorry and come back and redo some things, but I cannot. It starts with me. I cannot change those folk on the other side of the aisle. If they want to vote a party line, that's fine. I try not to do that. I try to vote what is right. I try to do my own reading. I try to do my own investigation of legislation. I try to talk to them. But I'm also not going to let it slide by. I'm going to stand up for my district, Senate District 48, and say, that what you just talked about is wrong. This is why it's wrong. Let me talk to you about why I feel that is wrong. And I'm going to be able to line that out. They don't have to agree with me, but I'm going to take that position. I'm going to give them an opposing view that at least they'll have something to bounce up again. If they want to ignore it and go around it and keep going, that's up to them. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to stand my ground, and I'm going to do it in a way that is going to be respectful to them. Now, I'm not going to be mean and hateful, because that's not me. I can't be mean and hateful because I have another judge above me. That, fact of the matter, I have to love those folks.
Can you clarify this for me? Can you just give me a little inside scoop? I just want to know. I know that you have friends across the state, and I've seen you hang out with people that I know that are from the other party.
Right.
So I know.
Right.
I know that you're friend. Are there people that feel the way you feel, but vote differently?
Yes. Well, it's an easy answer, though. If I want something, I'm going to do whatever that is I need to do to get it. If my moral turpitude, if my ability to not suffer through and fight and try to get there on my own, if there's an easier way, I'm going to make you happy as long as you're doing what I want you to do that's making me get to where I want to go. That's the easy way through life.
So they're literally saying, George, you're so right. I love what you just said. I agree with you 100%, but I'm going to go over and vote with them.
Right. Because them gives them what they want, what they feel they need. It goes back to what's best. Some things in life, every day I walk into that Senate chamber, the only person that I'm beholding to is God. Yeah. Not the Democratic Party, not anybody else in the community, not, I am a Democrat, but I'm not, no, that's the only person I'm beholding to is God. Because I don't want to have to depend on Waylon Cubitt to give me my next break in life to get to the next place I want to go. Mm-hmm. I want that to be based on my ability to be able to work my way through it, and for me to allow fate for life to give me what I deserve. And otherwise, and if I don't get it, maybe I don't deserve it. But there are forces in effect that prevent me from getting some things. And I cannot pout, I cannot cry. My mama told me, you're not gonna get everything you want, son. Right. But you better get up every day and go out there and act like you can. So
now I gotta beat up on Democrats a little bit too.
Yeah.
Right, well, party. I'm gonna beat up on party. And this is why. You win whatever elected office.
Right.
Or they win whatever office. And they serve just the people that voted for them.
Right, gotcha.
But I believe that when you win office, You serve everybody, those that voted for you and those that didn't vote for you. You still have to listen to everybody. Right? And it seemed like we're in the practice of I'm only going to serve those that voted for me. And I'm saying that Democrat and Republican. I don't even know why I'm telling you that, but that's what I expect out of everybody
You should. You should.
Right.
I mean, what's odd about that? If I'm not going to serve the Republicans and the independents or the people who didn't vote at all, who live in Senate District 48, then I'm not doing my job. That's a pretty simple position to be on.
It doesn't seem like it's practiced. The position seems simple, but it doesn't seem practical because I don't see it being
Right.
that.
I hope it's practiced more than you and I see. I understand fully what you're saying, and I know what you're saying, and it is true what you're saying. But all I can tell you is that I tried my best to listen to those folks because I don't have the luxury of not doing that.
I get it.
For me, I don't.
Talk to me about gun control. That's the big thing right now. We're looking for some sensible legislation. Right now, there's I think. The feds are talking about it, about doing stuff. What are we doing here, and where do you stand on this sensible legislation? What needs to happen?
I don't think you need a assault rifle to protect your home. I think there are some weapons that ought to be unacceptable in regular households. I just think that I think you ought to buy. You know what? You can buy as many guns as you want. Now, if that's a smart thing to do, I don't know, but I think you ought to be able to buy as many legal, useful weapons as you want. Some folk collect guns just like I collect fountain pens. So there's no law against that. And I've never thought that I want to hinder your ability to buy a weapon that you want, except when that weapon becomes one that is dangerous when it leaves your hand or your presence. You may be a great gun owner. I mean, you're very acute at doing your things, but once it leaves your presence, once it leaves your hands, you don't know what's happened to them. These cartridges that have multiple, what? If you shoot a deer with that, there is no meat to eat.
Right.
So why do you need that on a hunting? We don't need that. But if someone wants to, to have weapons, I don't have anything against it. I do think there ought to be a limit. This thing with age, I'm having a problem with this whole thing. Anyone 18 years and older, you know what? I'm having a hard time moving that age. I understand, but I'm having a hard time. And the reason
you want to leave it at 18?
Yeah, because they can go to war. They don't get a weapon.
Well, but they can go to war, but they issue them the weapon.
They issue them.
They don't go, here you go, take it to your dorms and have a seat. They go when it's time to go to war, when it's time to confront the enemy, come get it, we'll check it out.
So let's teach them how to use a weapon, or don't take 18-year-olds into the military.
Okay.
So I don't know. If you're 18 and I can go to the military and they issue me a weapon, right? I'm 18, I'm a citizen, then I ought to be able to go into the place downtown.
But that same 18-year-old can't go into a bar.
Can't go into a bar. I don't agree with that.
Okay.
So if you're 18, if I'm going off to fight and protect my country, I'm a citizen.
I got it.
I'm an adult. So
I got it. That's
I
what you
understand what some people think about that,
right.
But yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So again, there's a position where you probably don't align perfectly within the quote party stuff. Okay, there you go.
Right.
Let's talk about the things that that you can put your DNA on in legislation that you can say, I'm proud of that.
Right.
What has that been?
Well, several things. One, I guess, is probably one of the first things that I did when I came in office, and that was, I worked in drill court and DUI court before I came into the legislature. I love working with those individuals who are struggling with life. And one of the things when I first got in office, the first bill I had passed, matter of fact, first piece of legislation, allowed the judge to issue a provisional license, because this is what happened. You go through drill court and it's 2.5, sometimes 3 years they go through drill court or DUI court, and they finish, and probably halfway through the judge will issue them a provisional license. As long as they're in drill court, that provisional, police stop them, show them the license, you're all right, go ahead, you got a provisional license. When they come in for graduate, graduate, we give them all, DA said, your cases are dismissed, you are clear, you don't have any other obstructions to your having a great future, here you go. When that person walks out of that courtroom door, that provisional license is no good. That person probably drove to court that day. So when they get in that car and leave the courthouse downtown and drive, they are driving illegally. And so the first bill was to give the judge the ability to say, I'm going to issue you a temporary license for anywhere from 6 months to a year, to give you time, because you know how difficult it is to go down to get your a new license, particularly when you've been through incarceration. There's a financial obligation, and so that seems to defeat the purpose of them going through jury court. And when that was brought to me, and I'll always look to that as one of the most significant and important things that I could have done, because now I've helped someone. It didn't get a whole lot of fanfare, but to me it was significant and important because I touched the folk that I knew best. I touched the folk who I felt needed some help. I touched the folk who said, help me continue to try and build on this new life that I've created. And I'm very proud of that. I'm very proud of being 3 of the petitioners who signed the document that got 780 and 781 on the ballot that lowered possession crimes from felonies to misdemeanors, and then took 781, took the monies, we've never seen the monies yet, but the monies that saved from imprisonment that used for mental health, substance abuse, all those kinds of treatments. I like that. And those were, I crisscrossed the state talk trying to get folk to pass that bill and I mean to make sign off on that state question. And I'm very, very proud of that. And just recently here, this last year, I worked with Representative Goodwin out of Tulsa to a bill that Tulsa reconciliation scholarships, that it was in the name of 1921 and the massacre that occurred there, that opened up the possibilities that the Regents, we would give the Regents money to supply scholarships to people who could tie their lineage back to anyone in that, but generally anyone who applied for it, just as a remembrance, just as a way of saying, let's not forget what happened. Not only let's not forget it, let's build on it. Let's use that to make a better Tulsa, a better Oklahoma, a better America by recognizing what we went through and recognizing what we've tried to do to make that better. So those are just some of the things. Now, you really want to know, got a couple of things that were not legislation that I'm awfully proud of. One was when I first got in office, 2014, I kept reading. I like, obviously I like reading, I like reading, but I kept reading a lot of stuff. And every time I read about A.C. Hamlin, who was the first African American to serve in the Oklahoma legislature. He was in the very first legislature. He was there. When they first had the first legislature, he was there. Albert Comstock, he was there. And when Brother Hamlin, he was served so well that about in 2000, he couldn't serve but one term because the first law he voted on was
Senate Bill
that's right. Was like that grandfather clause, if you can't prove you got. So he was not able to run again, but he did serve that first one, even though it was bill. When I got in the legislature in 2014, now he was in 1907, around 1907. Listen, they had, I read all the time of Albert Comstock Hamlin, and every time I read it, said he was approved about 1997, maybe a little later than that, maybe 2007, that they had passed a law to name part of I-35 just north of Guthrie in his honor. Mm-hmm. And they'd always have in parentheses, but no sign has been erected. I kept reading it. I stopped one day. I'm not reading that anymore. I called over the Department of Transportation. Said, listen, the bill number is such and such. Albert Comstock Hamlin is supposed to have a sign up, and it's not there. Because I drove out there to see it, and it was not there. I said, that's something is wrong here. What's the problem? Hey, well, we don't know. Let me check. So they called me back and said, it's not up. I don't know how we missed that. What do you think? I said, we need to put that up. And so they said, okay. They ordered me some signs, some temporary signs I could give to families. I contacted the families. We had a big event down at Christ United Methodist Church, which was across from the VA then, but they're now not there, and brought the Hamlin family, had some Hamlin members, descendants of Hamlin that were there and celebrated, drove out to I-35 where the Department of Department of Transportation had put up the signs, and I was, whenever I go to Guthrie or I have to go up I-35 going north, I see that, and I'm awfully proud of that I gave recognition to someone whose shoulders I stand upon right now, and that's probably one of the most significant things that I could have ever accomplished in this life.
That's really cool, and I have to pay attention to the sign now when I go to Guthrie, and I'll pay. I'll pay attention to it. Everybody else will too now if they didn't know it already. One more thing. There's two more things I want to ask you about. Sure. The uniqueness of Senate District 48. Talk about the uniqueness of the people there and what makes District 48 unique and different, and the things that particularly that you fight for those particular people in District 48.
Well, the first thing I can tell you is that it is the largest number of African Americans of any other state legislature. I have the largest number, just raw numbers. I have more than anyone else. What makes it unique is what it is. It has a culture all of its own. You take the Deep Deuce before my time, but that was a part of it. That was a part of who we are. Now you got Northeast Oklahoma City, where you got I-35 and I-40. How rich that is with the people who have come out of that. You know, you can start with Clara Lupa and E. Melvin Porter and go back, who represented Senate District 48, was the first state senator to represent that newly created district. Why? Because the African Americans had moved to a number that they deserved to have representation because of the numbers who were there. You got all kinds of things that are going on in Senate District 48 that are wonderful. What makes it unique is the struggle that it has been through, the struggle of trying to be able to develop. Some of those things are happening now, but you notice with progress, there's always a price. And sometimes the price of progress eludes those of us who want to benefit from that progress. And that's a job that I have taken on. I want those folk who live in Senate District 48 to benefit from the progress that's going on there. And that's a difficult task. I wake up every day trying my best to find out ways how we can help that district, how we can help those individuals who live in Senate District 48 not to get run over by the progress, but to benefit from that progress, to be able to enjoy that progress, to look at that progress and to be a part of it. But gentrification and other types of things that have negative impact upon the history of that community are impacting. So I go in every day trying to fight that struggle. The largest African Americans, I go in every day trying to make sure that it's not about just the black folk who are there. It is about a part of Oklahoma history that exists that I'm responsible for at this point to a great extent. I've got to be aware of that, and I've got to make sure that I'm doing the things that are helpful to generate more and more progress that helps us and not takes away the power that we need so much in becoming who we are. So that's what makes it unique. I'll tell you this, when I first got into office, I thought I knew my district because I pastored in that district and knew the people there. But it was the first year, probably 2014 or 15, when they decided to take the earned income tax credit from the state and take it out, which is the earned income tax credit that went to people who maybe not even have a tax benefit, but they got, and it was created by Ronald Reagan, signed by Keating, both Republican governor and Republican president. It was there to help people. It was to give folk who were having a difficult time. If you had children and had income below, I think like $8,000, $10,000, then you got, according to how many children you had and according to how low that income was, you got, up to $1,000, $1,500. I'm right. I don't know if those figures are exact, but it was a pretty good amount of money that you got because you were struggling to help Republican president, Republican governor. The legislature, we were in the year when we had that $1 billion deficit, and for them to take the earned income tax credit away from people who needed to throw a rock into an Atlantic Ocean kind of deficit was just, I thought, horrible. And so it was despicable, to be perfectly honest with you. This is what happened, though. They put out some legislation. They put out a statement that said these are the districts that have been impacted by taking away the earned income tax credit the most. I was serving as the state representative for House District 99. Do you know what district out of the whole state was impacted? $5 million left that district when the governor signed that bill. You know what district that was? House District 99. That showed me in tangible terms the job that I had in trying to do for the people who, and House District 99 is almost wholly in Senate District 48. She told me the job that I had in trying to stand up for the economic progress, for the economic well-being of those people. And so every day I get up and I go into the Senate go into that chamber with that on my mind, that I have a responsibility, that those folk have entrusted me to stand up for their rights, to stand up for their economic rights. And I fought that. I tried to put forth a bill every year after 2014, 15, whenever they did that, to rescind, to put it back, to put that earning income tax back. And they just did it a couple of years ago. And it wasn't my bill that did it. They decided to do it through the budgetary process.
Right.
I didn't care, as long as they put it back. It has hurt so long
Right.
that it was time for them to put it back. And the people it helped was far greater than anything I could have gotten out of it for taking any credit for it. So that's what I have to deal with, Brother Cupid. I have to deal with those kind of thoughts that are larger than me, bigger than me, and people who look to me, who trust me, who have given me that trust for 2 terms in the House and now 1 term in the Senate. And that's why, I'm going again. I think this environment that exists today, I think that I need to go back. Yes, you're right. It's time for me to sit down. I'm time for me to take a rest. But in this particular moment, you just described it very well. In this environment, listen, they need somebody. Well, they know. Those folk in the Senate, some of them don't like me very well because they know when I grab the mic, I'm going to stand up and say what I believe is right and what's best for my district. And I want to continue doing that. And in the process, prepare in the next 4 years for that transition.
Last question. Then we probably, because I could talk to you forever, because I always pick up some nuggets of wisdom that I could use in my own leadership when I talk to you. But you mentioned picking up the microphone, and you picked up the microphone in a big way in 2020 and 2021 for Julius Jones, and it was a big deal not only in Oklahoma, but it was a big deal across the world. Talk to us about what motivated you to get behind Julius Jones and his family. But then what statement were you trying to make to the criminal legal system and to the governor at the time when you picked up the microphone and spoke up for him?
Great. Let me first say that Julius's mother was a classmate of my sister-in-law, my late wife's sister, because that's how my wife got to Oklahoma, Langston University. She didn't go to Langston, but she had an older brother who came to Langston, and a sister who came to Langston, another sister who came to go to OU. But one of my late wife's sisters were classmates with Julius Jones' mother, and she had called me from Waukegan, Illinois, and said, "Hey, my classmate's son is in trouble, and you need to talk to him." That's when I met them and talked to them and got to know Julius through them. He was
Years
in
ago.
jail. Years ago, he was already in jail then, but by the time I met him. And that is a most humbling experience. And let me tell you why. Because I was in my office and I got a phone call from a person, I want to call their name, and said, "Julius wants to talk to you." I said, "Julius Jones?" Because I was involved. He said, "Yeah, Julius wants." I'd been on speakerphone conversations with him at church, but never just me and him talking. So Julius wants to talk to you. He wants you to come down to McAllister and talk to him. I said, "You sure?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Listen, I'm going to tell, not that I didn't trust this person, but I got to get some more information than just you telling me that, And finally, someone from the Department of Corrections said, "Hey, Julius Jones, I would like for you to call him. We'll let you get that call through." And then his attorney called and said, "Hey, I can call him and I want you to talk to Julius." And I called him, and Julius said, "Would you come down and spend a few minutes with me?" I said, I'd love to, Julius. What is it about? You can let me know before I go." He said, "My commutation hearing is coming up, and I won't be able to go, but I want you to speak for me." Mm-hmm. Now, if you know the situation, when I heard that, I'm not crazy because I've been aware of it. It floored me because this man is asking me, and possibly the last opportunity he gets to make a statement, that he wants me to speak for him. Mm-hmm. I know he's on death row. He's not in jail for stealing a loaf of bread and, armed robbery, anything, but he's on death row. And he has said that was the most humbling experience that I've experienced almost in all of my life. And I went down and ended up spending about 2.5 hours, just talking to him. Never did he say to me, right, wrong, yes, no, I did what I didn't do. He said, "I just want to talk to you about what I've learned and where I've come from since my time being here."
Right.
And we had that conversation 2.5 hours, and so that's what led me to say, "Yes, I'll do it for you." It didn't make any difference to me what folk thought. I'll speak for you. He didn't tell me what to say. He didn't give me any words. He said, "But I trust you." He said, "I trust you, and I want you, whatever you want to say, for me at that hearing." And so the words that you heard me say at that hearing were words that I had prayed over for Julius, because I believed in him, and I believed that he deserved an opportunity. I believe he deserved a chance. And so it will remain with me. Just think about that for a moment. Someone to say to you, I want you. I may not have another chance, but I want you to speak for me, for those people who have the ability of life and death over me. I want you to speak for me. And so it was, in one sense, you can jump up and down and say, man, that's great. I feel good about myself. But I never could get to that and still hadn't gotten to that.
Yeah.
I still carry that weight of believing and knowing that I didn't do enough. I should have said more. And the fact that he's still there not on death row, but in prison for the rest of his life,
Right.
still haunts me. But I know that I tried my best. And I've talked to him several times since then.
Did you ever talk to the governor about it, this situation, or would he even talk to you about it?
I tried from my office several times. We've called down and asked the governor for an opportunity to sit down with the governor and talk. And the best I got was he sent Secretary Bingman into my office to talk to me, but I never got a chance to talk to the governor about it.
Yeah. All right. Well, that wraps it up for us. So this is your opportunity to talk to the people. This is your spot right here. If you want to talk to the people in House or Senate District 48, or the people of the state of Oklahoma. Who knows who's going to watch the great pastor, deacon, brother, doctor, mentor, George Young Sr. Go ahead, it's yours.
This is what a glorious moment for me to be able to be in this position, to be in this spot, to be the state senator for Senate District 48. And I'll say very quickly that, I've never taken an oath of office, and that oath said was to any particular district in the state of Oklahoma. That oath has always been to uphold the Constitution of the state of Oklahoma and uphold the Constitution of the United States of America. I've tried to do that. I've tried to do that for the last 8 years. I've tried to come and fulfill my duties to the best of my ability. I've tried to be honest. I've tried to be fair. I've tried to work not only across the aisles, but I've tried to work in the aisles. I've tried to work over the aisles to try and bring what's best for this wonderful and great state. I have chosen Oklahoma to be my home. I have chosen Oklahoma City to be my home. I love Oklahoma. I love the people of Oklahoma City. My pastoral ministry has been to individuals in Oklahoma and Oklahoma City, and I have loved every minute. Has it all been great and good? No. Has it all been fair and just? No. But I love it, and I love the fact that I have an opportunity for 4 more years. That's all I'm asking, to be re-elected for 4 more years, and those 4 more years will lead me to my term limits, that I won't be able to run for the state legislature anymore. But as that old Sidney Poitier movie and Bill Cosby movie said, let's do it again. That's all I'm asking. I'm not promising you anything different. I'm promising you what I've already given you. Promise you my dedication. I'm promising you that I'll continue to stand for those things that I believe that you have asked me to stand for. And all I'm asking you is let's do it again, because it was good the other times. We've made some progress. We've made some things better. We've done some things that we have improved, but let's try it one more time. Give me an opportunity to fulfill my term limits. And as I make it toward that last 4 years, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be looking at what I leave. I'm going to be looking at who I leave. I'm going to be looking at the things that I can set up, things that I can create that will last far beyond my being in office. I can't say it enough. Thank you so much for all of you, the whole state of Oklahoma, Oklahoma City, the Senate District 48, for your confidence in me. I just want to say thank you, and God bless you for being able to allow this boy walking the roads of Memphis, Tennessee, just trying to do what he thought was best, and now to be in this position. You have honored me. God bless you, and thank you so much.
Very, very good. How do they get in touch with you, and how do they support you?
You can listen, call my number and listen. I give out my cell number because it's on my business card at the state capitol. So the best way, 405-819-3435. 405-819-3435. I'm not fearful. I take the good and the bad. I want folk to be able to contact their state senator. And if you call me, I can text you anything you need to know, mail you anything you need to know to get in touch. I would love your support, would love your way to help me to serve one more time. And so thank you so much.
That's good. And if you just dropping in, when I asked him if he'd rather have a phone call or a text, he said text. So text him. Text him. Listen, we're going to be back next week. We have 2 candidates for Oklahoma County DA, Mr. Mark Miles and Vicky Bahina. So please be back here next Tuesday and Thursday, where you get to meet those candidates right here on Conversations with Cubit. Thank you so much for joining us, and thanks for keeping
Thank
us
you, sir.
informed and hopeful. Very inspirational. Thank you so much. That's it.